See, everyone rags on about how no one can deflect the Emerald Splash, but Dyer's Thunder Cross Split Attack is the perfect mix of attack and defense, except literally every time when it isn't. So Caleb's already done a video about how strong the 20-meter Emerald Splash is, and if you haven't checked it out, you definitely should. Tell Caleb I said hi. But here on Stand Science, we like to deal with hard numbers and facts, and that's why today we're gonna figure out what it takes to deflect the Emerald Splash. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna go through every stand in the series so far that can deflect it. Honestly, the Emerald Splash hits its target more times than a female streamer. But let's get back to the science. First off, we have to determine how powerful an emerald would be as a projectile. In high school physics, you could use your kinematic equations and figure this out pretty easily, but you know, emeralds are weird. And they have a ton of different kinds of cuts that affect how they move through air. To solve this problem, we'll need to know the drag on an emerald flying through the air. And this requires basic fluid dynamics. The drag force can be defined as the coefficient of drag times the density of the medium times the cross-sectional area of the projectile times velocity squared over 2. The cross-sectional area of an object is a 2D projection, as if you were looking at an object from the front. Using pixel measurements and basic geometry, we can determine that Kakyoin's average emerald has a length of 8 centimeters, a width of 3 centimeters, and a depth of 3 centimeters. The cut of emerald in the Emerald Splash resembles the Marquise or Navette cut. This means the shape of the cross-sectional area of that emerald would be a decagon. The formula for the area of a decagon is 5/2 times a squared times the square root of 5 plus 2 times the square root of 5. Where a is the side length of a decagon. So if a is equal to 1.5 centimeters, the area will be 0.001731 meters squared. Next, we need the density of air, which is easily accessible on any online physics handbook. At 300 Kelvin, or around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the density of air is 1.616 kilograms per cubic meter. Drag force can be rewritten as a drag constant times velocity squared, where c is defined as 1/4 times the density of the medium times the cross-sectional area. We all know the most effective range of the Emerald Splash. 20 meter Emerald Splash! When Kakyoin shoots off his Emerald Splash, we're only going to care about the horizontal direction for now. We know from kinematics that the final velocity squared is equal to the initial velocity squared minus 2 times the acceleration in the x direction times the distance. We also know that the sum of all forces in the x direction is equal to the mass of an emerald times the acceleration along the x-axis. To determine the mass of an emerald, we can calculate it using the volume, which is length times width times depth, and then multiply it by the density, which is 2.78 grams per cubic centimeters. With a volume of 48 cubic centimeters, the mass of an emerald is 0.137 kilograms. Before we can wrap everything up, we need to determine the velocity at which the Emerald Splash is flying when it hits its target. As we saw in the fight against Dio, Kakyoin's emeralds flew so fast that they could pierce through his shoulder. From the stand science on Superfly, we said that the amount of pressure needed to pierce human skin was 27 megapascals. If force is pressure times area, we can use the cross-sectional area we calculated before to get a force of 46,700 newtons. Next, we'll use what's called impulse, or the collision time times the force. And the velocity upon impact can be written as the impulse divided by the mass. We can approximate that the time of interaction for the Emerald Splash is similar to that of a billiard ball. which is 5 milliseconds. The impulse is 234 newton seconds, and the velocity upon impact is 1,710 meters per second. But do we have everything to solve the problem? There's still more than one unknown variable in this situation, and it's not clear where to go next. Unfortunately, we can't use the secret Joestar technique since we're already this far. So after consulting one of my engineering friends, we came up with the best solution to solve this problem. Guess and check. She created an Excel spreadsheet that would do all of the math for us. All we needed to do was set the parameters we previously found. Mass, area, pressure, force, time of contact, impulse, velocity upon impact, density of air, and the drag constant are all set values. We picked a certain time interval dt to calculate at, where the smaller step you have, the more accurate your results are. So the step we chose was 1/10,000th. All we needed to do was search the spreadsheet for the time traveled, speed, drag force, and acceleration, where distance was 20 meters. At the moment of being launched, the Emerald Splash has a velocity of 1900 meters per second. At a distance of 20.03 meters, the Emerald Splash takes 0.0111 seconds to reach its target, has a speed of 1,715.18 meters per second, and has a drag force of negative 2,057.3 newtons. The negative just means the drag force is in the opposite direction of travel. Its acceleration on impact will also be negative, at negative 15,016.82 meters per second squared. But that's not all we can do. We can use the same kinematic equations for vertical displacement. With acceleration due to gravity being 9.81 meters per second squared, we can show how far the Emerald Splash falls off after being fired. Since the emeralds are traveling so fast, there's not really a lot of fall off, only a little over half a millimeter after 20 meters. But here's the $1,000,000 question. How do you deflect the Emerald Splash? Well, first off, you could be harder than emeralds. On the Mohs scale of mineral hardness, emeralds rate at 8 out of 10, while something like diamond is 10 out of 10. Also, steel is much stronger than emeralds, and if you need to know how strong it can be, I'm going to plug my Superfly stand science again. And now I'm going to go through all of the stands that could withstand a barrage from the Emerald Splash. They either have designs, abilities, or compositions that make them immune to it. These would be Star Platinum, Strength, Yellow Tempress, Sun, Judgment, High Priestess, Zorodo, Crazy Diamond, The Lock, Killer Queen Sheer Heart Attack, Boy to Man, Superfly, Diver Down, Marilyn Manson, Yo-Yo Ma, Jailhouse Lock, In a Silent Way, D4C Love Train, and Vitamin C. Another way to deflect it is to move faster than 1,715.18 meters per second, or just negate all of the kinetic energy in the attack. Stands that can do this include Star Platinum again, Silver Chariot, Tower of Grey, Cream, Zorodo again, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Stray Cat, Gold Experience Requiem, Sticky Fingers, Sex Pistols, Kraftwerk, White Album Gently Weeps, King Crimson, Clash, Notorious B.I.G., Made in Heaven, Tusk Act 4, Speed King, and Dubiwa.
What about Starter?
No, shush. So there you go. 19 stands that are too tough and 17 stands that are too fast. That's 36 out of the 155 named stands that can deflect the Emerald Splash. So if you're in Araki's world though, you almost have a 1 in 4 chance of being able to deflect it.
エメラルドスプラッシュでそのエリアに追い込んでいたことに気がつかないのか。
Thank you so much for watching. You guys picked the most physics and calculation heavy stand science on my poll. So at this point, I basically deserve a PhD in JoJoology. I really appreciate the continued support as we grow, meme, and do the physics thing. Have a beautiful doing, and I'll see you all next time.